Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are impartially unpacking a truly fascinating text from 1990. It's a transcript that explores some incredibly profound, esoteric concepts of identity, cosmic essence, and personal awakening. Now, whether you're deeply into metaphysical texts or you're just kind of curious about how different belief systems conceptualize the universe and our place in it, this document offers a really captivating journey. Honestly, it challenges the very framework of how we view ourselves. Let's get started. So picture this. According to the source text, on this specific date, May 20, 1990, a profound conversation took place. And this wasn't your standard interview or some mundane chat. The text actually describes it as a gift unlike any other. An individual, along with two other people named Barbara and Aaliyah, sat down for a dialogue with a cosmic teacher, referred to as Zoran. Zoran is described in the text as the Logos and a friend from beyond space-time. So, right off the bat, we're dealing with a vast, otherworldly perspective being brought to the individuals listening.
Section 1. The Question of Micah.
Right, so let's get into the mystery that kicks off this whole recorded dialogue. The conversation actually starts because the questioner asks Zoran about a name that had been echoing inside their head for 2 solid years. That name was Micah. Now, when asked about it, Zoran doesn't just hand over a simple, straightforward answer. Instead, he responds with a really simple yet deeply probing inquiry. What desire you to know? It's a classic teaching moment, turning the focus right back onto the seeker to clarify their true intent before revealing the answer. But the individual presses on. They want a direct answer, asking point blank, who is Micah? And what's really fascinating about Zoran's response here is how it completely flips the script on what we normally think of as identity. Zoran pauses, seemingly trying to fit this massive, abstract concept into human language, and explains that Micah isn't a personality, it's not a past life, and it's not a role you play. Instead, Zoran defines Micah as a universal core and, quote, essence indeed. Section 2. A radical cosmic essence. To really wrap our heads around what Zoran means by a universal core, we have to understand how the text defines this completely unique type of existence. Zoran specifically defines Micah as a radical. Now, in the context of this document, a radical is an essence that is not confined to a position in a hierarchy. It's an entity that's entirely free, unrestricted. It just isn't bound by traditional cosmic rules or structures, and it can move freely across dimensions, gateways, and realities. Actually, Zoran even laughs in the transcript when explaining this, noting that it exists completely beyond what we would normally think of as the whole.
And this brilliantly illustrates the contrast. Just think about it like this. On one side, you've got a traditional hierarchy, confined to a specific position, highly structured and strictly rule-bound, the usual cosmic order. But on the flip side, we have a radical essence, like Micah. This is entirely unrestricted, boundaryless, and moves freely. It basically represents absolute freedom, operating completely outside the usual system to serve its purpose.
Section 3. The moment of recognition. Here is where the text takes this beautiful, highly abstract concept and makes it incredibly personal for the questioner. Having explained what a radical essence is, Zoran turns the mirror back on the seeker. He asks them to consider their own identity in relation to this profound cosmic essence. He just asks, now how do you think you are? It's an absolute turning point in the transcript, guiding the individual to connect the dots themselves rather than just, being handed the answer on a silver platter. So the questioner takes a tentative guess. They reply, probably that guy. And Zoran confirms it. He says, indeed. And it's radical. And it is not confined. This is the massive, shocking twist of the text, revealing that Micah is not some separate, distant entity out there floating in the cosmos. Micah is their very own essence. The text makes it clear this wasn't just a revelation of new information, it was a profound remembering of who they truly are at their absolute core. From here, Zoran elaborates that Micah is part of a specific group referred to as the Cosmic Jokers. These are beings who operate outside the rules specifically to restore harmony across spacetime, and they do it entirely without judgment. They're defined by some very distinct attributes: humor, freedom, balance, radical movement, and heart-centered intelligence. The text actually notes that the individual had always felt different throughout their entire life, and suddenly, through understanding these specific, light-hearted traits, they finally knew exactly why. Section 4. The human vehicle. Now, this whole setup begs a pretty massive question. If this being is a boundaryless cosmic joker, how do they practically operate in the physical, everyday world? The text creates this stark, almost funny visual paradox between Micah's majestic cosmic origin and their actual human reality. See, Micah comes from an essence beyond universes, beyond systems, and beyond form. The text strictly notes they did not originate from Earth. Yet their chosen human form is wonderfully, perfectly ordinary, complete with gray hair and a little flab. The questioner actually wonders about this out loud. I mean, why would a cosmic essence choose such an unassuming body? Well, Zoran explains that this is perfectly intentional. Listen to this quote from the transcript. "Were it any other way, it would not be in balance. If it were so obvious and so beautiful, all would take away from it. The idea here is that to maintain balance, a radical essence needs a humble, approachable, and relatable form. If they walked around looking overwhelmingly beautiful or majestic, it would absolutely detract from their core purpose."
And what is that purpose? Ultimately, it's a mission of service. But because Micah is fundamentally free, Zoran notes they have complete flexibility in how they actually carry out this earthly mission. They can choose to work publicly at the front, they can work quietly from behind, or they can even create another being entirely to handle the public work. The questioner humbly states they don't want fame, they just want to help wherever they can. Zoran clarifies this isn't about need at all. It's entirely a matter of choice, because Micah is a multidimensional, truly free entity.
Section 5. The Ledger of Micah.
Okay, let's look at the practical side of this and see how all this theory builds into real instructions for embodying this radical new identity. Zoran issues a strict warning regarding this new awareness and outlines 3 critical rules for living as Micah. First up, you have to let go of guilt. Second, you must love yourself first. Literally, no one else comes before that. And third, do not hide the secret of your presence. Zoran warns that hiding this essence will create absolute havoc for the individual. He emphasizes that serving others and acting as a force of balance is completely impossible without first practicing radical self-love and releasing all that guilt.
There's also this really fascinating little detour in the text regarding another entity. The questioner asks about the relationship between Micah and Michael. Zoran notes a relationship of profound mutual respect here, describing them as 2 of the same strand. They're depicted as 2 trailblazers, 2 radicals, and 2 friends who deeply, deeply honor one another's distinct missions. So if we pull all of this together and summarize the entire revelation, here are the core takeaways of what we've unpacked today. What does it actually mean to remember, rather than just discover, one's identity as Micah? Well, it means accepting that Micah is essence, radical, free. Micah is a cosmic joker, not originally from Earth, yet deliberately here in an ordinary form to serve. And crucially, to fulfill that service, Micah must love themselves first and never ever hide their true nature. We're wrapping up this explainer with Zoran's final parting whisper to the questioner. Traveler, you are Micah, the radical essence, the one beyond rules, the one who walks freely through gateways. You came not from Earth, but to Earth, and your presence is a blessing. It leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to ponder, doesn't it? What would it truly mean to wake up to a radical, cosmic identity housed inside an ordinary, everyday human life? Could there be a radical essence waiting to be remembered in you? Thank you so much for exploring this deeply fascinating text with me today. Keep learning and keep asking the big questions.